Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Bullpen Podcast. I hope everyone had a great week. We are back after a 2-week hiatus. I did get over a small cold I had last weekend, so unfortunately I was not able to broadcast last week. But we are back. We are better than ever, and we are back to talk some baseball. Don't forget to follow the show at the Bullpen Pod on Twitter. You can also follow myself on Twitter at Kunos19 and also head over to our YouTube page and subscribe to our YouTube page. We have some fun videos coming up this season, including we're going to do a blind reaction video with my wife. I'm going to be showing her all the City Connect jerseys that have been released, the ones that are upcoming as well. And I'm going to get her initial reaction to the City Connect jerseys. So stay tuned for that video that will be posted on our YouTube page. And once we get that video posted, we will share it on Twitter as well. So head on over to YouTube to like and subscribe to our YouTube page. We are sponsored by Fanatics. Head on over to Fanatics using the Linktree link in our Twitter bio for all of your Major League Baseball clear, including the MLB Authentic Collection by Nike, your Jackie Robinson 2023 collection, and much more. Your jerseys, hats, t-shirts, and collectibles. So click the link in our Linktree bio on our Twitter page and head on over to MLBshop.com, courtesy of Fanatics. Like I said, we are back after a 2-week period. I was sick last week. I came home Friday night. Like I said, that wasn't looking good. Took my temperature, triple-digit fever, so that kind of knocked me out all weekend. So I finally got over the cold early this week, back at work, made it through the work week, and we are back. We are ready to talk some baseball, but before we talk some baseball, I'm going to talk about something that I have been looking forward to for the last, I would say, 2 months since they announced this, and that was Linkin Park has released their 20th anniversary of Meteora. This album was released back in 2003 when I was about a junior in high school of all days, and that kind of just throws it back to how long this album has been around. But the release of the 20th anniversary was just so special. It had the original album, Meteora, had the live in Texas version, the live in Nottingham version. It had some studio demos as well, and of course, they had a couple of new live tracks that had never been released before. We're talking songs like Lost, Fighting Myself, and Healing Foot, which are absolutely phenomenal tracks. Kind of one of my favorite songs has been Healing Foot. It kind of ranks up there with Boss and just how good and powerful this song is. And I have to say, it's a little emotional when you hear Chester Bennington's voice for the first time on brand new music since he passed away, unfortunately, back in 2017. It kind of just gets you right in the heart, right in the chest when you hear him in brand new Linkin Park songs. I mean, obviously when he passed back in 2017, it was devastating for anyone who's a Linkin Park fan. He was just an iconic singer, and he kind of brought this band with Mike Shinoda and everyone else in the band into their own. And it's kind of one of those iconic singers from the start of the 20th century, or 21st century, my apologies. And to hear him again on some brand new music is kind of just, honestly, it's just truly special to hear his voice again. We never thought we would get a chance to hear him after he passed. Unfortunately, that kind of nixed what we thought would be new Linkin Park songs. We thought that we would not get any new releases of Linkin Park songs. Obviously, the 20th anniversary of Hyper Theory came out. We got some new tracks there, but the 20th anniversary of Meteora just kind of brought back to what made the band for me so special. Just how I broke into listening to this band. I actually started listening to this band courtesy of Meteora when I first brought this CD back again when I was in high school. It was just such a fun CD. It's such a unique CD to listen to, and that what got me into this band was truly Meteora. So if you have not listened to this album, there's about 87 songs, I believe, on this album itself. You can go out buy the 20th anniversary special edition pack. You can download it off Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your music. I highly recommend to go out, listen to this album. It is a truly special and unique tribute to Meteora. I highly recommend it. Of course, if you ask any Linkin Park fan, they'll probably say the same thing, that this is a truly special album, and it was absolutely fun to hear Linkin Park in some new music. All right, so we're going to move on to some baseball talk, and we're going to talk about a team that is off to the hottest start in baseball, and we're going to talk about the Tampa Bay Rays, ladies and gentlemen. They got off to a incredible start. They started off 13-0. They are now 14-2 after a series in Toronto. And who saw this start coming? I mean, you asked my wife, who is a huge Rays fan. She is just jumped for joy that the Rays got this incredibly fast start. I mean, they are truly the best team in baseball as of right now. We got some stats that we're going to go over with this team here shortly. But to start the season, the series sweeps of Detroit, Washington, Oakland, and Boston. And that includes some come-from-behind victories with Boston and with Oakland as well. Just fantastic baseball. They had spectacular pitching, incredible offense, incredible defense. Now, they finally did suffer their first series defeat up in Toronto, courtesy of the Blue Jays. And the Blue Jays, again, another great team. If you ask my wife, she says that she truly hates the Blue Jays right now. We know why, but it's just an incredible start for the Tampa Bay Rays. They did tie a modern record in baseball, getting off to a 13-0 start that tied the 1982 Atlanta Braves and the 1987 Milwaukee Brewers as well. Now, obviously, if you go way back into the baseball history books, the 1884 St. Louis Maroons actually had the best start at 20-0. So, again, that is just a truly good start for the Tampa Bay Rays. They currently hold the highest run differential in Major League Baseball at plus 72. And we're only talking 2 weeks into the season right now, and they're almost outscoring their opponents by 100 runs. It's just truly incredible. And to go through some stats on this team, they got a 280 batting average, which is the second highest in Major League Baseball, a 541 slugging percentage, which is the highest in Major League Baseball. They're first in home runs with 36 homers as a team. They've driven in 114 runs. I mean, the offense has been clicking. Randy Rosarina has been doing it. Wander Franco has been doing it. Lowe has been doing it. So you have truly good hitters for the Tampa Bay Rays that have bringing the Rays offense up to steam and pretty much being on par with some teams. Now, granted, we haven't seen him play the Yankees yet. We haven't seen him play the Astros yet. Dodgers, again, they're playing every single team this year. Not to say that the teams they beat up on weren't competition. You need to beat up on the bad teams in order to get off to a great start. And the Rays did what you have to do. You have to beat the bad teams in baseball if you want to be competitive, if you want to get out to that fast start. You beat up on Detroit. You beat up on Washington. You beat up on Oakland. You beat up on Boston. Again, they're going to see Boston again this year. They're going to see Oakland again this year. They're going to see Detroit. The only team that they won't see again this year is Washington. So you beat up on the bad teams, and then when you get to those teams that are juggling for first place, like the Blue Jays, like the Yankees, like Baltimore when they face them, because Baltimore is going to be right up there with them, I believe, as well. You need to make sure that you take what you did against those bad teams and bring it to those good teams as well. So we're going to see how the Rays get how truly good the Rays are once they get into those really good series with some of the teams that they're going to be competing with. Now, their pitching has been absolutely spectacular this season so far. They hold a 2.54 ERA, which is tops in Major League Baseball. Opponent batting average, they're holding opponents to under 200 for batting average. They have a 198 opposing batting average, which is the second in Major League Baseball. Their whip is 1.06, which is also second in baseball. So, again, the pitching has been there. So they've had spectacular pitching, which has been led by Shane McClanahan. He's 4-0 with a 1.57 ERA, 23 innings pitched, 27 strikeouts, a 113 whip, which is just absolutely fantastic. So he has been leading this pitching staff going forward, and he's one of the reasons that the Rays are where they are right now. One of the reasons why they're sitting 14-2, because if you have that great starting pitching, your bullpen is going to follow. The other 4 stars in rotation are going to follow as well. So you have this incredible key pitcher, which in McClanahan, which he is probably going to have a great season. If he's able to keep up this pace of play for the entire season, he'll be right up with the Cy Young talks when we get into August. Again, very early that we're talking Cy Young, but if you had to go way too early to predict Cy Young winners, McClanahan would be your clear front runner to win the AL Cy Young again. Very early in the season, but that's just how good the Rays are. 2 bats that have been just absolutely fantastic. Talking Wander Franco, hits a 318 average, 4 home runs, 13 RBIs. His OPS is at 987. You got Brandon Lowe, who's hitting 310, 5 home runs, 12 RBIs. His OPS is a 1.132, so he has a higher OPS. So the Rays are hitting, ladies and gentlemen. The Rays have an offense. The Rays have the pitching. The Rays are going to be a great team this year, and this start proves that they are going to be a great team. Now, the question that I think everyone has for the Rays is, one, can they keep this up? They are a very small market team. We've seen the Rays kind of filter through players left and right. They rotate pitchers out of their pitching staff, out of the bullpen. They bring up starters left and right for the field. Can the Rays keep this up? I say yes. I say the Rays can keep up this hot start. I think the series in Toronto is kind of a good wake-up call for them. I think they get back on track coming up, and take a look at see who they have coming up because I believe that they're going to have some good competition coming up. So if we're looking ahead at the Rays, they got the Cincinnati Reds. They go to Cincinnati to play the Reds. They come back to the Trop to face the White Sox and Astros, and then they travel to Chicago for a 4-game series to close out April. So they got the Reds, the White Sox, and the Astros to close out the month. Now, these teams that they're facing are not up to the best starts. And again, we'll talk about the White Sox Rays because that's going to be one of the series we're going to preview coming down the line. So we'll see how they stack up against these teams. The Reds are not good. The Astros are playing under 500 baseball right now, and the White Sox are playing under 500 baseball right now as well. So if the Rays can get off April with maybe just 5 losses or less, I think that's going to truly set the tone for this season. All right, let's get into a celebration that baseball had this past Saturday, and yesterday was Jackie Robinson Day, April 15th. If you're a baseball fan, you know that is Jackie Robinson Day. We all know that he broke into baseball with the Brooklyn Dodgers back in the 40s. Go watch 42. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. The late Chadwick Boseman, who plays Jackie Robinson, does an absolutely fantastic job portraying him in the movie. It's a Spike Lee film, so definitely go out and see it. And I truly love Jackie Robinson Day because every player in baseball wears 42. Again, 42 has been retired since 97. The last player we saw wearing 42 was Mariano Rivera for the Yankees, but when he officially retired, no one else has worn 42 officially. But now you get everyone wearing 42, and I like what they did with the 42. In past, it used to be 42 in the team's numerical font, but I like that they put the Dodger 42 on the jerseys. Yes, if you're a Giants fan, yes, if you're a Yankee fan, it looks weird, but I like that they're bringing that piece of Jackie Robinson and putting on a jersey. Grant, you stitch 42 on a jersey, it's special regards to fact, but when you put that same font that Jackie Robinson wore, that Dodger blue on the back of that jersey, it just adds something a little more special there, in my opinion. The hats were different this year. Instead of the hat patch like you see on my hat here with the diamond and the bats crossing, they had a simple home plate patch with Jackie Robinson's signature and 42 on it. I thought that was a nice touch. No patch on the jerseys this year, obviously because of some jersey ads. They didn't have any room to put the patch on. I think if you're going to just do that, you scrap one of the patches, either the ads or a team patch, and you put the 42 patch on there, or you just put it right on the front of the jersey or just on the back, something to make it very unique. But again, when you look at Jackie Robinson, 10 seasons, had 311 average, over 1,500 hits, 137 home runs, on-base percentage of 409. He slugged 474, and his OPS was 883. 6-time All-Star, Rookie of the Year, NL MVP, part of the Brooklyn Dodgers 1955 World Series championship, elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1962. And again, his number was retired by baseball back in 97. I remember watching that when I was a kid. That whole ceremony was just very touching to see Major League Baseball pay tribute to Jackie Robinson when he did the 50th anniversary of his breaking the color barrier. Everyone wore a special Jackie Robinson patch on their jersey that year, and everyone retired 42 that year. So it was a very nice tribute to what baseball did this weekend. So again, baseball, I believe, does it well when it comes to Jackie Robinson tributes. They did a very nice job with the tribute this year, and I look forward to the years coming up where they will hopefully keep this continuing tradition on. I say, Rob Manfred, do not scrap this at all. Please keep this tradition going of celebrating Jackie Robinson. It is a great thing for baseball, and I think you need to hopefully expand on this. Obviously, you have it a day, but I would love to see this celebration move to a full 3-day weekend celebration. You start Friday, go into Saturday, go into Sunday, or whenever the celebration takes place. If it takes place in the middle of the week, you make it a 3-day celebration, because I think this needs to be celebrated more. I think this is a good thing for baseball that they celebrate it. I would just like to see them expand on the celebration. All right, so the rules of baseball have changed. We know that the rules have been changed. The rule changes have been coming. They have been in place for 2 weeks. Now, if you're a fan or not, they have made an impact on the game. There have been some significant changes to the game. And I, for one, am a fan of these changes. I love the pitch clock. I think it's a great thing. I love that it speeds up the pace of play for baseball. I love that the pitchers only have about 15 to 20 seconds to set, throw a pitch in between each batter. I love it. I think it's a great thing. Watching games on TV, you definitely see a difference in just how quickly the half innings are going or how quickly an inning's going. Hopefully, when I get a chance to see some games live, we'll be able to give you a better update of just how the pitch clock is, where you see it from the stands, and how that affects you watching the game live. But we do have some stats here on the Bullpen Pod to break down over the rule changes. Now, these are stats through April 12th, so they're not fully up to date with this last set of games, but the pace of a 9-inning game is down from 3 hours and 9 minutes to 2 hours and 37 minutes. We're looking at over a 30-minute drop in the length of game. Now, depending on where you live, that makes a huge difference. So for me, we live in Central Florida. The nearest stadium we can go to is Tampa or Miami. So we're kind of in the middle of those two stadiums. It takes us about an hour and a half to get to Tampa based on traffic. It's about a 3-hour drive down to Miami. So we're looking at 3 hours on the road, 2.5-hour game, 3 hours back on the road. That's pretty much a good 8-hour day right there. Tampa, same thing. Hour and a half down, 3-hour game, hour and a half back. So you're looking at a full 6 to 8 hours there. It is a huge difference when you're there for only 2.5 hours compared to a 3-hour game. And I think the pitch clock is to credit for this. I liked the fact that the games have sped up. Now, Grant, don't get me wrong. I love a good pitcher's duel when you go into like the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th plus inning. Those are fun games to watch because it's free baseball. I absolutely love it. But I like the fact that these games have been sped up. I think it's going to draw in a lot more fans. I think it's going to be a great thing for baseball going through the season that these games are getting quicker. Now, I think the true test for this is going to be in the playoffs. Now, when we get to the playoffs in October, we know that playoff baseball is longer. We know that games tend to stretch out 3 to 4 to 5 hours. That is a true fact. But I think when you see this length of games changed by the pitch clock just in the first 2 weeks, I think there will be a change in playoff games when we get to October. When you look at the offense, runs are up 1.4 runs per game from 2002. So 2022. So in 2022, we saw an average of 8 runs per game. We're now up to 9.4 runs per game. So the offense is up. Now, can you credit that to the shift restrictions where you have to keep 2 players on each side of second base? Probably. I think that's a good way to look at that. Not having a shift on is helping drive up averages. Batting averages are up 230, are up from a 230 average to a 250 average this season. So they've jumped 20 points, and I think that's a credit to this shift restricting that you have to keep players on each side of second base. They have to stay within the infield. There's no more of these crazy infield configurations just to get a power right-hander out, get a power left-hander out. Stolen bases have increased as well. Now, the bigger base size, we put the pizza box bases on there because I think that's what they look like. They look like a giant pizza box on the field. But stolen bases attempts have been up about 2 per game. That's the highest since 2012. So in 2022, we saw 74% stolen base opportunities. We're now seeing close to 80 stolen bases attempts in 2023. So those are up. I think that the success rate of stolen bases is good. I think this is a great thing for baseball. You can see a lot more situational hitting, better base running, a little more small ball. I think small ball is a great thing to watch. Now, when you talk small ball, if you're not familiar with the term, sacrifice bunts, sacrifice flies, just hits, not hitting for power, base hits, doubles, triples, just running, hitting for hits, running for speed, just situational hitting, giving yourself a chance to score runs each time. I think it's a great thing. So pace of play has been up, and I think this is going to be a good thing when we get into, again, playoffs. When you see these key matchups, you want to see players like Aaron Judge hit home runs. You want to see Shohei Ohtani hit home runs, Mike Trout hit home runs. You want to see some good base running on the base pass. You want to see these good plays. Now, what does that mean for defense? Again, you had to better align your defense. Again, if you're used to seeing the shift, if you're used to seeing three players on second base for a power right-handed, power left-hander, that's going to be a little different. So you have to make sure that if you're a manager, you set up your infield correctly. You shift more towards second without going across the line. So, again, pace of play rule changes have made a positive effect, in my opinion, on the game. All right. Before we get into our series to look at, we're going to give you an update on the series battle in the house. So, my wife and myself have a little competition that we're going out. We're going to pick 3 series each week, and we're going to see who has the better luck. If you're watching live, you know that my wife is pretty much still kicking my ass at this game. However, I do believe in comebacks. I believe I can make a comeback. Again, that is a very deep comeback. I'm in a deep hole right now with just under 500 picking correctly. But from the last show we did, my wife did pick 2 out of 3 series correctly. I only picked 1 out of 3, so she has picked 13 series correctly. I've only picked 8. But again, they call the comeback for a week, ladies and gentlemen, and I believe that a comeback is on the way. So let's get into series that we are looking forward to this week. So the first series we're going to talk about are the Toronto Blue Jays versus the Houston Astros. Now, the Blue Jays are coming off a series win over the Rays, at taking 2 out of 3 in Toronto. The Astros are coming off a pretty dismal series with Texas. They just lost tonight's game, Sunday Night Baseball, 9-1. So they got their offense kind of in a hole right now. And I believe they did end up taking the series. So they ended up losing the series to Texas. So Texas takes the series 2 out of 3 in Houston. And now we come up to the Blue Jays and Astros. So the Blue Jays are coming down to Houston this week, starting tomorrow. And we got some great pitching matchups coming up. So we got Gausman versus Javier, Bassett versus your guy, and Berrios versus Garcia. Looking at the pitching for Blue Jays, Gausman has a 1.35 ERA. Bassett has a 7+ ERA. Berrios has a 7+ ERA as well. But I like the Blue Jays offense. I think the offense for the Blue Jays is kicking. They showed up against the Rays, who again have a stellar pitching staff, have a stellar bullpen, but they were able obviously to get to the bullpen early for the Rays and kind of knock them around a little early. Houston's has off to a slow start. They're only 7-9 right now. Obviously, they got Javier going, who's 1-0 with a 4.24 ERA. Urdai is 1-0 with a 2.35 ERA, but Garcia is 0-2 with a 7+ ERA. So again, Houston is struggling early. Again, this loss to Texas does put them in a big of a hole. They're 7-9 with a 4.38 winning percentage, 5-5 in the last 10. They're off to a slow start, but we still have to pick games. And both my wife and myself love the Blue Jays in this series, so we are taking the Blue Jays in this series. Moving on to our next series, we're going to talk the Milwaukee Brewers versus the Seattle Mariners. So the Brewers will travel out to Seattle to take on the Mariners. Now, the Brewers are sitting at 11-5, first place in the NL Central. The Mariners sit at 8-8, second in the AL West, only a game and a half behind the Texas Rangers, who are 9-6. The Brewers are going to throw out Burns, Rea, and Lowry as their pitching trio going into Seattle. The Mariners are countering with Flexen and Gilbert and have yet to announce a Game 3 starter. Looking at these pitching matchups, obviously Burns is a 1-1 with a +5 ERA. Rea, no wins, but does have a nice 1.59 ERA. Lowry is 2-1 with a 5.28 ERA. On the opposite side, Flexen for the Mariners is 0-2 with an 8+ ERA. Gilbert 1-1 with a 2.7 ERA, and we'll see who they throw out in that Game 3 matchup. All right, we both know that the Brewers are going to be competitive this year. I've talked about them a lot on this show. I went on the Locked On Brewers podcast earlier this year and talked to their host about Brandon at the time about the Brewers and how I like the Brewers. I don't think they're going to be a NL Central champ block, but I think they are going to be competitive in this series. I think they're going to be competitive all year. And then you got the Mariners, who are pretty much playing the same way they started off last year. They got off to a really slow start last year and then just caught fire, ended up taking the wild card in the American League, get past the Blue Jays, but obviously fall to the Houston Astros. But this is a good matchup, in my opinion. You got two teams that are kind of looking to rewrite what they did in 2022. The Brewers are trying to put away what happened in 2022 with kind of a collapse towards the middle and late in the season. The Mariners are trying to repeat what they did in 2022. So when you look at the picks on this podcast, I am picking the Brewers. My wife is picking the Mariners. So we'll see how we do in the split series coming up. Now, the last series we're going to talk about, this is kind of a bit of a family feud going on here in this house, ladies and gentlemen. It is the White Sox going down to Tampa this weekend to play the Rays. Now, this is a tale of two opposite teams. As of this recording, the White Sox are 6-10, third in the AL Central with a 375 winning percentage. The Rays, however, are 14-2 with an 875 winning percentage. They sit 4 games above the Yankees in the AL East. Again, if I'm going to be honest, I am not liking how the White Sox are looking so far this season. They have been playing some pretty bad baseball to start the season. I'm just going to be very frank. As a White Sox fan, it is frustrating to see this team struggle day after day, especially when Oscar Colas had a walk-off win against the Baltimore Orioles yesterday. They come out, they get 4 in the first, and then they just kind of fall flat after there. Jake Berger had a nice little shot there. It's just the White Sox offense has not yet caught fire, and I'm waiting for this offense to catch fire. I'm waiting for the pitching to catch fire. The bullpen for me is the biggest issue for this White Sox. It is their Achilles heel right now. They have, I believe, if I saw this correctly, the third worst bullpen ERA in Major League Baseball, which is just absolutely awful because this bullpen desperately needs some help. Obviously, we got some great news that Liam Hendricks has finished his cancer treatment. He is on his way back to playing. And Liam, congratulations on your recovery. I am looking forward to seeing you back in a White Sox uniform on the south side of Chicago, helping to close out game for the White Sox. Now, looking on the opposite end of the game, you got the Tampa Bay Rays, who are going to Cincinnati this week to start the week, but then coming back into town to take on the White Sox. Now, if the Rays go into Cincinnati and play like they have at the start of the season, it is going to be a tough series for the White Sox. The White Sox are going to find themselves battling a very good Tampa Bay Rays team. Now the Rays and White Sox do play each other 7 times this season, and they're going to finish off their season series in April. So the White Sox come into town for 3, and then the Rays go to Chicago the following week to close out April. So the Sox and Rays will meet the only time in April. Now, next time they can meet will be in the postseason. If for somehow the White Sox and Rays do make it to the postseason, whether it be in a wild card round, divisional round, or AL championship, that'll be the next time that these two teams can meet. Now, as for who we're picking in this house, I mean, come on, ladies and gentlemen, there's no clear answer on who's going to win this. But if you listen to the podcast, if you know me and my wife's picking the Rays. I'm picking the White Sox. I am sticking with my guts. I'm picking the White Sox, and we're actually going to be in Tampa on Sunday to watch the series finale. So we'll kind of do a little bit of a live video going into Game 3 of the series. I am excited because this will be the first game that we're going to see live this year. It's going to be fun to go down to Tampa and see our two teams play. Last time we did see the White Sox and Rays play was back in 2013. We went down around my birthday to see 2 games. This is back when Chris Hill was on the team. You had Adam Dunn on the team. AJ Przinsky was still a part of the White Sox, so you can kind of see. And if you did not hear that, the Rays did sweep the White Sox, and I was handed a nice little broom for my birthday, which of course, I need to be reminded of every time the White Sox get their asses kicked and swept by the Rays. However, I think that this will be a great series. Again, I am hoping so, and I'm probably going to be wrong, but it's always going to be fun to go watch live baseball. So we're looking forward to going down to Tampa next week to watch the Rays and White Sox live in Tampa. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of our show. We hope you had a great time listening. Thank you to everyone who comes out and downloads the podcast, listens to it on Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast. Thank you very much for downloading this podcast and being a part of the Bullpen Podcast. Thank you for the ongoing support on our Twitter page, on our Facebook page, and on our YouTube page. We will be back next Sunday. Again, we're going down to watch the Rays and White Sox next week. We will be back that night at 10 o'clock. We'll give you a full recap of the game. We'll give you a recap of the series. And we'll keep you up to date on any breaking baseball news that comes around this week. So until then, ladies and gentlemen, have a great night, and we'll see you next Sunday.